Well, it's do or die day, and I tackle the biggest and most risky project on this motorcycle. I'm doing the framework where the pegs attach. So let's get into it and let's figure out how to get these put together. I have all the parts here, and this should go just fine. Hopefully, let's see. So check that out. That's what this thing looks all stripped down to its bare components. Now, I am dealing with the most serious thing first. Obviously the cage is off, the plastics are off, I've taken the battery out, I've taken the fuel tank off, and a bunch of other things to try and get things going here a little bit. I've glued in all the broken pieces here so that they can start, because this is probably going to take 3 or 4 days to actually fix properly. Just getting everything in its position again is really helpful. But we can't do anything without fixing the big problem. And I'll show you what the big problem is. These holes are what hold the foot pegs on. And the way this is welded on here, it's really difficult to get it off. Now, some of you are mechanically inclined, some of you aren't. Now, if you're screwing a bolt into a welded nut, it's okay if you don't have to put a whole lot of pressure on it because you're not worried about cross-threading it. In this case, whoever did this, they used the wrong bolts. So there's one original bolt, matched it up with the proper thread pitch, which is the distance between each thread here. This one is just like a 1/4 mil too wide. I have matched it up so that this one will actually screw in as it's supposed to. But instead of taking all this off to weld these nuts on the back side of that bar, I'm going to take this, I'm going to tap this, and then I'm going to drill it so that the first layer of steel right here, that first layer of steel goes wider than the bolt. And then I'm going to leave this nut on here, so there's going to be a bit of a valley there. I'm going to drive this bolt in as far as I can get it, weld it in, and then once it's welded in, I'll bring this out here and I will cut it off. And these will be 2 grade 8.8 studs to hold the foot pegs and cage on. It's not going to be an issue because whenever I put the cage on, it all slides on this side, and then the foot pegs go on as well after that. So if there's studs there, it's just going to make it that much easier. So I'll fix the studs in place instead of actually having to screw into it and hope that you get it. The studs will now become a better tightening surface. And anyone who knows this from the automotive world, anytime you can tighten a nut down on a fixed stud, you get a tighter surface. It's easier to maintain. You have a greater risk in the future of breaking off. But we can then drill it again and do it again if it breaks off. So we're all good. So you might be saying to yourself, well, if you weld that, won't the weld protrude? Yes, the weld is going to protrude a little bit on this, but let me show you something. This is the first component that goes on the frame right here. See how much play there is there? That means that the weld that I put in around it is highly, highly unlikely to interfere. It's not a tight mechanics fit. It just needs to fit. There's also going to be some extra space left over because I'm leaving the center stand off this thing. I hate it when they slap. So I'm going to leave the side stand on it, but the center stand won't be there. So I'll build some spacers out for it so that it'll give me a little extra buffer room with spacers. Just that simple. Before I start welding here, I just want to show you what this looks like. So you can see the taper around the bolt. Now this is the issue, is that this bolt's all walled out, same as the other ones. This one's not too bad, but it's a little too tight. I could probably clean it up, but this is going to be a better solution anyway. So this one's the problem. This is why the peg was spinning. So I'm going to weld all of these. You can see the bevel where I'm going to lay that weld in. And here's the grounding spot. So it's cleaned up real nice. Let's see how I do. I haven't welded in about a year, so we're going to use low wire speed, a little bit more heat than not because there's quite a bit of material behind that bolt, and we're going to probably do it in 3 or 4 different attempts here so it doesn't get too hot. Anyway, we'll see. Emergency water's over there just in case you catch something on fire. Just like that, Got a couple solid welded studs. Now all I'll do is I'll go cut the heads off, make sure that the tops of the bolts are shaped so that those nuts will go back on, and file them out a little bit, and then I'll pull the nuts off and then we'll test it, and that'll be it. And that right there was the hardest fix that I anticipate on this bike. This is great. Now there's a little bit of extra space here because obviously the cage is not on, and there's spacers that I have to put behind it, but it just goes to show you that the tightest fitting part fits on perfectly. And the heads that I just cut off, they're laying there. I have the nuts placed back on. They've been removed, placed back on. No issues. I have to get 2 new bolts for the front mount. Whoever put those bolts in there, they get the wrong size. So I'm going to replace those. And yeah. So now I get to move on to the next better project, which is the carburetor. Hopefully we can stop that flow through issue. There's some issues with the exhaust. I got to replace the frame bolt. Simple stuff though. Simple. And if you're wondering if I stood on them, I did. I got on the bike, jumped up and down, and nothing broke. So I think we're pretty good.